have you been feeling mentally scattered lately? Just tired all the time? If you feel like you can't focus on anything for more than a few minutes, you are so not alone. Today, we're going to dive into why our brains feel so completely overloaded and, more importantly, what we can actually do about it.
I mean, seriously, does this question just hit a little too close to home? It's that feeling, right? A dozen different thoughts all running at the same time, each one screaming for your attention. And by the end of it, you just drained. This isn't just a feeling, you know? It's a real, measurable thing happening to us.
And this number right here, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. 85. That is the average number of times we check our phones every single day. That's about once every 15 minutes that we're awake. Now, each one feels like just a little peak, but they add up to this massive tax on our ability to focus.
Which brings us perfectly to our first big idea, the constant, relentless interruption that defines modern life. And this isn't just about your phone buzzing. It's about how our entire environment seems, well, fundamentally designed to break our concentration.
And this is the hidden cost. It's the part we never think about. The problem isn't the 5 seconds it takes to glance at a notification. No, the real damage is the minutes, sometimes 15-20 minutes, it takes your brain to switch gears, process that new thing, and then slowly, painfully get back into that state of deep focus. That recovery time is where our productivity just evaporates.
And it's really a two-pronged attack on our attention. First, you've got the obvious ones, exogenous interruptions. Think of these as the enemy outside the gates, the pings, the dings, the alerts that pull you away. But then there's the sneakier kind, the endogenous interruptions. This is that internal twitch, that compulsive urge to check your phone even when it's totally silent. Our brains have literally been rewired to crave that little hit of novelty.
So why? Why are these interruptions so incredibly powerful? Well, the answer is hardwired into the very architecture of our brains. Let's get into the science of your own personal mental bottleneck.
And the key concept we need to understand is called cognitive load. Basically, this is the total amount of mental horsepower you're using at any given moment in what's called your working memory. This isn't long-term storage, it's the mental countertop where you're actively juggling information right now.
This is the perfect analogy. Your working memory is exactly like the RAM in your computer. It lets you run programs, but you know what happens when you open way too many tabs and applications at once, right? Everything grinds to a halt. It slows down, you get the spinning wheel of death, and eventually it crashes. Every interruption, every task switch, every stray thought, it all eats up a piece of that very, very limited RAM.
Now, cognitive scientists break this load into 3 types, and this is really important. First, you've got intrinsic load. That's just how hard the topic is. Learning quantum physics is just hard. Can't change that. Then you have germane load. This is the good stuff. This is the effort your brain puts into actually building long-term memories and understanding. But the real villain of our story is extraneous load. This is all the junk that gets in the way. Confusing layouts, a noisy office, and, yep, constant notifications. Our goal, our mission, is to ruthlessly cut down that extraneous load so we can free up our mental RAM for the stuff that actually matters.
So, what happens when we consistently redline our cognitive load day in and day out? The result isn't just messing up in the moment, it leads to this chronic state of exhaustion. It's called attention fatigue, and it is absolutely real.
And this idea of attention residue is so crucial. Picture this. You're writing a report, and you quickly switch to check one email. When you switch back, part of your brain is still thinking about that email. That leftover thought is the residue. It clogs up your working memory, makes you less effective at the report, and makes you more prone to errors. This is why multitasking is a complete myth. It's really just rapid, sloppy, and exhausting task switching.
And the grand total, the cumulative effect of all this, actually has a name, directed attention fatigue, or DAF. And listen, this is not you being lazy or undisciplined, it's a genuine state of mental burnout. It comes from constantly forcing your brain to block out distractions. Think of your focus like a muscle. If you spend all day pushing away interruptions, that muscle gets completely worn out.
And the symptoms? I have a feeling they're going to sound pretty familiar. Feeling way more distractible than usual? Getting impatient or irritable over little things? Forgetting why you walked into a room? Maybe making some impulsive choices you normally wouldn't? These aren't just random bad moods. They are classic signs that your brain's attention systems are crying out for a break. And to really put this into perspective,
Get this. This is a staggering fact. Research shows that if you're awake for just 17 hours straight, your cognitive function is impaired to the same level as having a blood alcohol content of 0.05%. That's legally drunk in many countries. Just being tired can make us functionally intoxicated. Let that sink in.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's big, it's backed by science, and honestly, it's just plain exhausting. But here's the good news. This is not a life sentence. We are not powerless here. So let's totally shift gears and talk about some concrete, science-backed strategies to fight back and get our focus back on track.
First up, a classic for a reason, the Pomodoro technique. The beauty of this is how simple it is. It's not about working for 8 hours straight, it's about working in focused sprints. You pick just one task. Set a timer for 25 minutes. And for those 25 minutes, that is your whole world. No phone, no email, nothing. When the timer dings, you have to take a 5-minute break. Get up, stretch, look out the window. This simple little cycle trains your attention muscle and shows your brain that deep focus doesn't have to be this big, scary, overwhelming thing.
All right, next, you've got to manage your environment. This is all about making focus the easy choice instead of the hard one. Go into your phone settings right now and turn off every single notification that isn't from an actual human being you need to hear from. At night, charge your phone anywhere but your bedroom. And when you get that internal twitch, that urge to check, just pause for 1 second. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? That tiny little pause can break the whole compulsive loop. We can also learn to work with our brain's limitations instead of fighting them. So instead of cramming, trying to shove a whole textbook in your head the night before an exam, use something called the spacing effect. Reviewing things in shorter bursts spread out over a few days is so much more effective for long-term memory. It gives your brain the time it needs to actually process the information and build those lasting connections.
And here's a similar idea. Try interleaving. Instead of practicing one thing over and over again, like 20 addition problems in a row, mix it up. Do an addition problem, then a subtraction, then a multiplication. Now, it's going to feel harder in the moment, for sure, but that struggle, that little bit of extra effort, is exactly what makes the learning deeper and more flexible.
And finally, the one that underpins everything else, the non-negotiable foundation for focus, sleep. It is not a luxury. When you sleep, your brain is doing critical maintenance. It's cleaning out waste products, consolidating memories, and crucially, it's replenishing the very neurochemicals you need to pay attention and block out distractions the next day. You just cannot outwork or outstrategize chronic sleep deprivation. It's impossible.
So here's the bottom line. Reclaiming your focus isn't about finding some magic bullet or having more willpower. It's about building a smarter system for yourself, a system that respects and protects your brain's very limited resources. And that leaves us with one final very practical question. Just look around you, at your day, at your desk, at your phone. What's the one little distraction, that one piece of extraneous load that you can eliminate right now, today, to give yourself back just a little bit more clarity? Thanks for watching.